Hi there. Thanks for joining me for a story today. It's Vicky and I'm at my local park. And this feather has just reminded me of a story I know that I'd like to share with you. Now remember, there are lots of different ways of telling stories, and this story is called Rainbow Crow, and I'd like to share with you my telling of this particular story. So I'll meet you at the tree just over there and I'll tell you all about it. For this story, we have to go a long way back to a time when the earth was young and when there were no people on the earth, just lots and lots of animals. And one creature that was on the earth at that time was Manakahas, the rainbow crow, so called because she had the most beautiful rainbow-coloured feathers all over her. And not only did she have beautiful rainbow-coloured feathers, she had an exquisite birdsong that might have sounded a little bit like this. All was well on the earth. The weather was warm and sunny and all the creatures were happy until one day everything changed because along came snow. The animals, who were very good at sensing a change, crept out of their holes and hides and burrows, and they looked up at the sky, and the sky was full with a million tiny white flakes of snow. Now the animals had never seen snow before. "Oh," said Mouse. "Oh," said Rabbit. "Oh," said Squirrel. But they weren't afraid. In fact, they were intrigued, and they watched as more and more and more flakes of snow fell from the sky. And the sky, with all the snowflakes, didn't stop snowing. The snow got thicker and thicker and thicker, and the layer of snow on the ground got deeper and deeper and deeper. "Oh no," said Tiny Mouse. "Oh no," said Rabbit. "Oh no," said Squirrel, and all the creatures began to feel colder and colder and colder, and more afraid, and hungrier, unable to find any food in the thick snow. What were they going to do? Well, Wise Owl, who was indeed very wise, decided that something could be done to help, and she flew to the highest branch of the tallest tree, and she gathered all the creatures in the thick snow around. "What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" she called out. And everybody thought hard about what they could do to stop the snow. And then Wise Owl came up with an idea. And the idea was that one of those animals would go up and find the great inventor, who had, after all, invented everything. So surely the great inventor would know how to stop the snow. But who was it going to be? "Hoo hoo hoo hoo! Hoo 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 hoo!" cried Wise Owl. "I could go," said Tiny Mouse. "I could go," said Rabbit. "Well, I suppose I could go," said Squirrel. And just then there was the sound of beautiful birdsong. And Rainbow Crow had flown over from another tree, and she offered to go and find the great inventor. Well, it was decided that Rainbow Crow would be a very good animal to go and find the great inventor, because the great inventor lived high, high up in the sky. And Rainbow Crow, with her strong wings and her fine feathers, would be an excellent animal to go and find the great inventor. And so Rainbow Crow, Manakahas, spread her beautiful rainbow-coloured wings, and she took off from the ground. It was still snowing very fast. And she flew through and among the drifting snowflakes, up and up and up, higher and higher and higher. And all the creatures on earth watched her go, and they shivered and they felt colder still and hungrier still, and then they went and nestled back in their hides and holes and burrows, hoping that Rainbow Crow would return and that she would help to save them. On the second day of her journey, Rainbow Crow flew through the thick, thick cloud. She was very tired herself by then, but she knew she had to keep going because the creatures needed her help. And on the third day of her journey, Rainbow Crow, with her beautiful feathers, she flew through the stars and the moon, and she flew higher and higher and higher and higher until she found the great inventor. But of course, the great inventor was busy inventing. Great Inventor had not seen Rainbow Crow, and Rainbow Crow knew she was going to have to sing a beautiful song to get Great Inventor's attention. And sure enough, Great Inventor looked round at Rainbow Crow. "Manakahas, with your feathers bright, you have come to me and I hear your plight. But I need you to know, Rainbow Crow, that I cannot uninvent the snow, no. I can, however, give you a gift to help melt snow's freezing drift. The gift of flame will melt the snow. Take it quickly, but careful as you go. Take it back to earth. The flame will burn, and the warm seasons will return. I'll give you the flame on the end of a stick. Take it, fly with it, but most of all, be quick." So with those words, Great Inventor took a stick, and Great Inventor touched that stick very, very gently and carefully on the sun, so that the end of the stick caught fire and was alight. And Manakahas knew exactly what she would have to do. She had to take the burning stick all the way back to earth to melt the snow to save the creatures. And so Rainbow Crow put her beak on the stick with the flame at the other end, and she spread her beautiful rainbow-coloured wings and she started to fly. And remember, it was a 3-day journey, and she flew as fast and as carefully as she could. And on the first day, she flew back through the moon and through the stars, and the flame on the end of the stick burned down the stick a little bit closer to her. But she kept going, and she flew, and on the second day she flew through the thick clouds, and the flame on the end of the stick burned down the stick a little bit closer to her, and she could feel some of her beautiful feathers begin to burn. But she kept going, because she knew that the creatures on earth needed that flame to melt the snow. And she flew, and she flew, and she flew, and on the third day she flew down to earth, and she knew she was getting close. But by then the flame on the end of the stick had burnt down the stick so close that Manakahas could feel all her feathers getting burned and charred and turning to the colour of soot. Well, the animals back on Earth, they could feel a change was coming, and they looked up into the sky, and they looked through those thick, thick snowflakes, and there was Rainbow Crow returning to Earth. But oh, no. That didn't look like Rainbow Crow. "No," said Tiny Mouse. "No," said Rabbit. "Nah," said Squirrel. "That's not Rainbow Crow." And indeed, it looked nothing like Manakahas. There were no beautiful rainbow-coloured feathers, and there was no beautiful bird song anymore. There was what looked like burnt, charred, smoking feathers with a bright flame in its beak. And Manakahas, with the flame, fell down to the ground with a bump. And that flame did burn brightly, and the snow did melt, and all the animals were safe. The sun came out, the warm seasons returned, and the animals knew that they would find food and they would find shelter, and they celebrated and they rejoiced at Rainbow Crow for saving them. But Rainbow Crow did not rejoice. She did not celebrate. Her lovely rainbow-coloured feathers were no longer there. She was burned and smoky and the colour of soot. Rainbow Crow sat sadly, and her heart was indeed very, very heavy. She opened her beak to see if her lovely birdsong was still there, but it was just caw, caw. Her throat and her lovely birdsong had been burnt by the flame as well. Rainbow Crow Manakahas could not have been sadder. And then something strange happened. One single snowflake fell from the sky, and it drifted down and down and down, and it landed on Rainbow Crow's beak. But Manakahas thought that was very strange. There hadn't been any snow for a while, and the sun was out, and it was a warm day, and everyone knows there's not snow on a warm day. But this was no ordinary snowflake. This was a message from the great inventor, and it was a message for Manakahas, and it went like this. Manakahas, Rainbow Crow, please do not weep so. You were the one that saved your friends, brought the warm seasons back, and made amends. I can hear that you have lost your song. I can see that your bright rainbow feathers have gone. But change is not a curse, but a charm. Your new, different song will keep you safe from harm. And your feathers, you think they're plain? Well, I think you need to look again. If you look very, very carefully, you will see 1,000 colours still shining brilliantly. Well, Rainbow Crow stretched out her feather, her wing, and she looked at her feathers very carefully, and she did indeed see 1,000,000 colours shining brilliantly. And Rainbow Crow's tears dried. And Rainbow Crow, who was now proudly Crow, lifted her head and lifted her heart. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to that story. And now I've got a little job for you before I go. And that is that the next time you're at the park or in any outside space, have a good look round and see what you can find. I bet you can find some leaves or some sticks or some twigs, or maybe some pine cones, or maybe even some feathers. And if you find anything, maybe you can think of any stories that you're reminded of. Or if you're really clever, you might be able to make up a story of your very own about that thing. And next time you see birds in the sky, or you see feathers on the ground, I'd like you to think of Rainbow Crow. Thanks again so much. I hope you enjoyed it. And please enjoy the rest of your day. And I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye. But no. And your feathers? You think they're plain? Please do not weep so. Manakahas. you will see a million colours shining. Oh, what is it again? I can hear that you have lost your song. I can see. I'm not having much luck with this, am I? I can see the ice cream van.